I know we're best friends, but like, tell me something that stands out in your childhood. Like just any story. It can be seen as positive, seen as negative. Just like what is coming to your mind when you think about childhood?
That is a loaded question because I have a million stories from childhood. I mean, are we going to do BD or AD, before dad or after dad? Because dad is a whole nother.
Literally.
Okay, I got one for you. The first one that popped in my mind when you asked childhood story, it was the 8th grade. I had to be, I don't think I've ever told you this story either. I had to be maybe 12, maybe 11.
Mm-hmm.
And the 8th grade, they were having a dance at the school. And I had my eye on this girl at school. I forget her name now, so that's how memorable it was. But I remember asking mom if I could take this girl to the dance, the 8th grade dance. And she said flat out no. Now, remember, she was a single mom at the time, and was not married. And so she was just raising 3 kids. So here I was saying, okay, I'm going to test her will. So I played the emotional card and cried. And I said, but I never get to do anything. I remember very vividly where I was in our house in Pensacola, Florida. And I was just like pitching a fit just to see if she would capitulate. It wasn't because I actually wanted to go at that point. Once she said no, okay, I guess I'm not going. But once I saw that she said I couldn't, I was going to see if I could make her change her mind to could. Yes, it was horrible in hindsight, but I remember it because I'm like, whoa, my mom is easily pushed over. It was like the first time I really realized what a pushover she was. Well, I whined and complained, and oh, I never get to do anything. Oh, you've been through divorces, and oh, this would mean the world to me. Oh, and finally she said, okay, you can go. And I said, no, I'm good. And I never went. But it was the whole idea of, could I push to get my way? And in that instance, I did. I didn't really want my way. I don't know why I remembered that story, but that story was very, very vivid. That it taught me that my mom was more of a pushover than I realized. She was a strong woman, but it also explained her choices in men in life. All of the men she chose weren't very great. And so I was yet another man in her life that was able to push her around a little bit.
Yeah. How much of the experience, with your dad, like your dad and mom being together, how much of that do you remember? Was there a lot of memory there of like when your mom and dad were together? Because you were really young.
I was not even 2 years old when they divorced. So no, I have no recollection of the two of them. My brother Kevin, 4 years older, he may have had a little bit of a recollection. I remember him telling me stories about dad ran a milk route, and then mama was at home raising him. But no, I have zero recollection of my mom and dad being together.
Yeah, I asked because I mean, even if they weren't, physically together, there could still have been moments, phone calls or face-to-face situations where
What was
you
their dynamic?
saw how your dad treated. Yeah.
Is that okay? Yeah, I was mimicking my dad because my dad treated me like shit. I remember one time, another story. My dad had court-ordered custody. So there would be, was it 2 weeks at Christmas time, 1 week for spring break, and 6 weeks during the summer. Every single year, me and my brother Kevin, we were the 2 full-blooded siblings of Judy Ann and JD. Mama was upset about something. He said something to her, like real snarky. He was very sarcastic in the way he spoke, and especially around my mom. And so mama laid into him. Mama's like, you're not going to come in here and talk bad about me. And I left you for that reason. And there he was just kind of blowing it off. Why are you so upset? And totally gaslighting her and everything. But yeah, I observed, and like, I'm conscientious of that now, by the way, that
Right.
I observed how to be a man from a not man, from a man that, small dick syndrome. I'm sorry. It just, that's what it was. And he couldn't, forgive the expression for those of you that were offended, but he didn't know how to handle his own emotions. And so here I am looking up sort of to him for what being a man is, and saw him treat women bad, which as an adult man, I've done nothing but try to treat women with the greatest of respect. That's the one thing my mom did impart on me. You treat women with respect. And it was after that incident with the 8th grade dance thing that I think we had that kind of conversation after the fact of, hey, treat women well, and you'll go far in life.
Yeah. I mean, so much of what happens in childhood, you can go one way or the other. You can repeat the pattern or you can break it, but kind of fumble. I mean, let's be honest, in my own life, I watched the patterns of my parents and I was just so big-headed that I am not going to live that way. But then, and you've done this as well, where you kind of fumble of my only experience in life, my only influence in life was so far from what I want to be and so far from who I want to be that you kind of get in this, I have no idea how to be who it is that I am. Yeah. And so then you kind of go through this identity crisis and you find anything to attach yourself to. And Jimmy, what did you attach yourself to?
Oh my gosh. Like, let's ponder that just a second, because that's a profound. I had no direction becoming an adult. I went out of the house, and since you don't know anything about me, quote unquote, in my teenage years, I had the shit beat out of me almost every day. I was berated for 3.5 years. I was basically told I was a nothing. I'm not going to amount to anything. No girl will ever want you, all these things. So I go out on my own, and next thing you know, I'm in college. It's so funny. I went to college to escape, not to get an education, but to escape my abuse. I did get an education, and yes, same for you as well. So, and so I flailed. I was so awkward. I remember learning like basic life things in the school of hard knocks, like hearing other kids talk, and I'm just going, wait, that's normal? And looking at other guys, especially, wait, guys do that? Like, I had no idea. My dad didn't prepare me to be a man. He didn't prepare me to be an adult. And my mom was oblivious to all of this. And so I guess she thought that dad had taken care of it when he had not. So what did I attach myself to? Literally anything to feel valued. Literally anything to have worth. So I poured myself into my academics, did very well. Poured myself into working hard for pennies, and did that very well. There was one point in my college career where I had 20 hours of classes and I was working 3 jobs. One of them full-time at Shoney's. I was working probably 50 to 60 hours a week just at Shoney's, plus the 20 hours a week of classes. Plus, it was the year the Census Bureau was happening, so I did part-time some census stuff. I had one other job. I forget what. I was the mail guy at my dormitory, and I got paid for that. And I did all of that at like 18 or 19 years old. I forget exactly when it was, but I was wearing myself ragged because I didn't know anything other than work yourself to death, partly because I had observed that's what my dad did. Again, male role model. You mimic what you see. That's what I mimicked. And I didn't really have anything to attach to. To be honest, I was an attachless, flailing mess. And I would argue it lasted well into throughout my 20s.
Yeah. I have had the privilege of being around 3 specific men, my dad, my husband, and my best friend, who all kind of have this same pattern. And I guess it's why I'm so familiar with the pattern and I see it so clearly in anybody else. You go through these things as a kid and they shape you, specifically in men. Women go through this too, but it's such a man thing to never have value as a child, to never be validated in any of their feelings and anything. Don't feel that. Don't cry, son. That's bad. Quit being a sissy, suck it up. I mean, how many times do we hear this and push this in society? And then we wonder why we have angry men who never stick around because
Yeah.
they don't feel value. And they're told that the only reason why they're valuable is because they go to work. And so then you have these men who work themselves to the ground. Hello, Jimmy, my dad, my husband, they work themselves to the ground to try to feel valuable. And they take on a second job and a third job and a this and a this because they have nothing to attach themselves to except for I'm valuable when I work.
Yeah.
And what kind of message does that send to young men that you're only valuable and you're only valuable in this life to work?
Well, and it's glorified.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to take care of your family. I know you and I've had conversations about Wildman that he finds that value for himself. I'm going to come back to me in a minute, but this is a good point. He finds that value in himself, that when he's working, that's love. That's love for you. That's love for your girls. And I felt the same way. When I was working, that's me saying I'm a part of something that's meaning something, because I was told I'm never going to amount to anything. So if I'm doing something proactive through work that's meaning something, I'm not meaningless anymore. I was told I would be not valuable, but I'm at least partly valuable to somebody with this work. So anything to get the affection, the love, the connection that I always craved as a teenager, and even as a child, obviously, but especially as a teenager shifting into adulthood, that work became the surrogate father that I never had.
Yeah. Wow. That was a powerful statement. Work replaces, and you can fill in work with anything. We find something to attach ourselves to try to find value. So for me, I actually went in that route as well. I excelled in school and pushed myself in school to earn father's love because I'm watching his patterns, I'm watching what he does, I'm feeling this need to be the best in order to feel loved. Except you've gotten to the end of that. I've gotten to the end of that where I pushed myself and pushed and pushed and pushed, and I really was successful, but I still didn't feel loved.
Yeah.
I still didn't feel valuable, because that's the secret sauce here. You're not valuable because of what you do. You're valuable because of who you are. But the problem is you attached who you were into work.
Did you go keto and thought you had to give up wine? Well, let me introduce you to Dry Farm Wines. It is the world's first sugar-free alcohol that is lower than your typical wines, organic, made at local farms that do it the right way. Most of the wines that you buy are from 3 really big companies, loaded with additives and preservatives, so many dozens of those kinds of things. You don't want all that junk in your wine. So go to dryfarmwines.com/Jimmy and they will ship you these wines. And just because you listen to this podcast, Dry Farm Wines is going to give you a bottle in your first order for just 1 cent. Go to dryfarmwines.com/Jimmy and you will get your bottle of wine for just 1 singular penny. Go check them out. Dry Farm Wines, you guys. It's wine o'clock somewhere. Let's go get some
And
wine.
then the problem came into play that when I got out of college and I went into the real workforce, I would always try to be the best at what I did. That was just my goal. And that's nothing wrong with that, by the way, you guys. I think we all should strive to be the very best. Look, I'm a podcaster. I'm trying to be the best podcaster I can possibly be. And I think I'm there. But the problem is, in the regular workforce, especially in my 20s, I would always reach one little certain part, and that was the highest I ever got. And I wanted here, and here was available. I'd look up and I'd see there, but for some reason, here's where I stayed. And I didn't understand that. I kept thinking, wait a minute, what more could I do? What's wrong with me? And I felt devalued again all of a sudden. All of the recollections of you're never going to amount to anything because you only stayed here and you want here, but you're never going to amount to anything. it was one of the great things that pushed me out of the normal workforce to go to work for myself. Because, all right, well, if that's what I want and this is all the regular workforce is going to give me, screw that, tear that down, and let's go shoot for that. And I
Yeah.
think
I love
when
it.
the breakthrough started to happen for me was when I finally started reparenting myself, as we did an episode on. I started believing in myself